Former professional skater Mark Gator Rogowski is currently serving a lifelong prison sentence for crimes he committed back in the early 90s. However, despite being convicted of committing absolutely terrible crimes, he somehow maintained support from various members of the skateboarding community throughout the years. And recently, there's even been a push for his release from prison. Who exactly is he? What did he even do? And why is he going to be released? Born August 10, 1966, Mark Rogowski was raised in Southern California, which is often considered the skateboarding capital of the world. Growing up in the heart of the skateboarding industry, it should come as no surprise that he first started skateboarding at 7 years old, and was able to turn pro by age 14. His aggressive style, impressive skill level, and his catchy nickname, Gator the Skater, all helped him stand out among other pros. Throughout the early stages of his career, he would often excel in smaller local competitions before going on to win more major contests. In the years that followed, he would continue this winning streak while collecting a list of reputable sponsors along the way. During this time, a lot of major names in skateboarding were being established. Tony Hawk, Christian Hosoi, Steve Caballero. Many legends in skateboarding were being formed, and Gator was right alongside them. Skateboarding had been around since the 60s, but the boom the industry was experiencing in the late 80s pushed skateboarding to an entirely new level. This was a rare time period when professional skateboarders like Gator were treated like rock stars. Thousands of people would show up to watch him skate. Lines of skaters would wait to get his autograph. Groups of girls would hang out at contests hoping to see him. He was living every skater's dream. Not only was he traveling the world skateboarding, but he was getting paid incredible sums of money to do it. It's estimated that between all of his sponsorships, Gator was earning upwards of $40,000 to $50,000 per month. Still being a young kid, Gator let a lot of this go to his head, fully leaning into the attention that he was getting. He began marketing himself as Gator the Skateboarding Extraordinaire, and when fans talk about how he acted during this period, there are a lot of negative opinions. This guy was a real jerk. Met him in 1988. He usually placed 4th or 5th on vert, but for this competition, he actually got first place, beating out Tony Hawk and Christian Hosoi. Sad when the only two things you can remember about him is he acted like a real a-hole and that he came in first place. Gator was more in love with being famous than he was with being a skater. Sad, sad, sad. Skating is the best thing ever, being famous is for fools. Unfortunately, what Gator didn't realize was that at that time, skateboarding was simply a trend. All of the fame, money, and status that he was receiving wasn't going to last, and things were about to get very difficult very quickly. Skateboarding can be a bit rough, so having gear that can last is important, and today's sponsor Exter has some of the toughest wallets you can buy. The Exter aluminum card holder is made out of RFID blocking space grade material, making it both lightweight and durable. Even though it holds up to 12 cards plus cash, it's still extremely compact, and has a great pop-up feature that makes it super easy to access your cards quickly, so you don't have to fumble around while you're standing in line. It has an expandable aluminum backplate if you want to carry more bills, and it comes in 14 different colors and patterns that will match pretty much anyone's preference. The card holder also works perfectly with their solar-powered tracker device that allows you to track your wallet from your phone, so you never have to worry about losing your wallet again. The Exter wallet is the perfect holiday gift, and if you use my code DUSTED, you can get up to 55% off. While on a skateboarding tour in 1987, Gator met a young girl named Brandy McLean and her good friend and aspiring model, Jessica Bergston. Soon after meeting, Gator and Brandy would begin a long and rocky relationship that would last for several years. After convincing Brandy to move out to California with him, Gator introduced Brandy to the extravagant lifestyle that he was living. She got to see firsthand how massive his career had grown, even landing a spot alongside him in Tom Petty's music video for the song Free Falling. The romantic period of their relationship would only last for so long though, and as time went on, things would take a much darker turn. Towards the end of the 80s, skateboarding's popularity began to die down rapidly. Not only did the trend of skateboarding pass, but the few skateboarders who remained stopped skating on big ramps like Gator and began skateboarding in the streets instead. As a result, Gator's royalty checks were consistently getting cut in half month after month, with his main sponsor, Vision Streetwear, eventually going bankrupt altogether. The skate industry as a whole was on a decline, and the type of skateboarding Gator was known for was declining even faster. This was something that he didn't handle very well. As his career struggled, Gator became much more reclusive and increasingly aggressive and controlling over Brandy. Not only was he not hanging out with other skaters as much, but he was trying to prevent Brandy from socializing with others as well. In an effort to revive his career, he tried out several personal rebrands, including changing his name to Gator Mark Anthony and even attempting to build a career in street skateboarding. Unfortunately, none of it was successful. His street skateboarding abilities weren't anywhere close to his ramp abilities, so his skate career had all but died out completely.
He cruises back to the coast, just tries to street skate, kids laugh at him, and he was desperately grasping at straws, trying to figure out what would work to get him back to the lifestyle he used to have. And then slowly just got worse and worse, and he did worse and worse things.
He was coming out of his forming years, having a lot of success, a lot of recognition and renown, and possibly a bit of confusion with his own identity.
He was an idol, and then you're not that big of a deal anymore. Disposable hero. Just see you later.
On top of that, his increasingly possessive behavior eventually led to Brandy finally breaking up with him, which only caused him to spiral even more. Following the breakup, Gator began drinking heavily, and his sporadic behavior started becoming dangerous. He would enter her home and steal gifts that he had given to her, he would make threatening phone calls to her new boyfriend, and he would even threaten her directly. He was becoming so unhinged that at one point, Brandy called the police and informed them about Gator's behavior. But sadly, nothing was done. Unaware of how things had unfolded in prior months, on March 20th, 1991, Brandy's old friend Jessica Bergston reached out to Gator, since she had just moved to San Diego and was hoping to have someone show her around. The following day, on March 21st, Jessica and Gator spent the afternoon together, but soon after that, Jessica was reported missing. A few weeks later, on April 10th, campers in the Shell Canyon Desert found a heavily decomposed body that was later identified as Jessica. Overwhelmed with guilt, Gator would then come forward and confess to the assault and murder, leading police to where everything had happened and recounting the details of what took place. In his confession, Gator allegedly conveyed that he had killed Jessica in a misplaced act of revenge towards Brandy, calling Jessica the mold that Brandy was made out of, allegedly saying, because she was older than Brandy and she influenced her heavily during the first couple years of her teens, it was basically Brandy with a different body but the same personality and everything. He apparently told Jessica, "Everything that you are, I despise. I hate you and I hate everything that you stand for. You made my girlfriend what she is today." He allegedly told police that Brandy had been cheating on him and that he originally planned to kill her about a week earlier. When Jessica just so happened to reach out to him a week later, he took his anger out on her instead. But this is where things get confusing. Oddly enough, despite clearly knowing he was guilty and even admitting to it, there were several people claiming that Gator told them the whole thing was just a kinky relationship that had gone wrong, and he would be completely cleared during the trial. Considering he pleaded guilty and admitted to everything, this obviously wasn't how things unfolded. Regardless, it would be a rumor that somehow lasted for decades and would evoke sympathy from those unaware of the situation. On an episode of the popular skate podcast The 9 Club, a well-known skate photographer who was around in the 80s even repeated this rumor back in 2022, a full 30 years after it started. The claims received harsh and widespread backlash almost immediately by the entire skateboarding community, and the segment was quickly cut out of the podcast, which goes to show that most people know the truth and empathize with Jessica and her family. However, for anyone at all to believe that rumor after so many years was shocking for people to hear. Ultimately, Gator received a prison sentence of 31 years to life, 6 years for one crime, and 25 years to life for the first-degree murder charges. But he's since become eligible for parole, which has caused a bit of tension for those involved with the case. In statements and interviews, Gator does seem to own his mistakes and express remorse, but the crimes he committed are hard to forgive, and many people still haven't moved on, with members of Jessica's family pushing for him to remain in prison, and many members of the skateboarding community still holding resentment. Even so, there are some people who believe that he's a reformed person who should be let back into society.
His crime is tragic and horrific, but he has done everything a person could possibly do to make amends, to rehabilitate himself, to try to help others inside the prison to see the error of their ways as well.
This has resulted in a back-and-forth battle going on for over a decade that might actually end with him finally being freed from prison. Gator was originally denied parole in 2011 after it was argued that he remained an unreasonable risk to society, and in 2016, he was denied again for 7 more years. Then, in 2019, multiple media reports indicated that his parole board actually approved his release. The California Board of Parole Hearings then finalized the decision, but on April 27, 2020, his parole grant was reversed by Governor Gavin Newsom, stating Rogowski needed to gain a deeper understanding of his crimes. In June of 2022, a San Diego County parole board granted him parole again. With his attorney citing, the parole board's trained psychologist found him to be a low risk of danger to the public. Again though, Governor Gavin Newsom reversed the decision, ensuring that he would continue to serve his sentence. With the continuous back and forth decisions being made, it's difficult to know if Gator will ever be released. Some people feel that he has served his time and is now reformed, with one comment reading, "I came up in skateboarding around a lot of the old pro legends/icons, and it seems that the majority of them believe Gator deserves a second chance, and that what he did is truly not who he is. I'm in no way making excuses for his actions, but it wasn't like he had done this multiple times, and he has done a life sentence. I believe that he deserves a second chance. It's not like they're paroling a serial killer. I truly believe he feels awful for his crime and has been reformed." On the other hand, there's no shortage of people who feel the exact opposite. I don't care if he was the most famous of famous. What he did dictates a lifetime of bars. Paroling anyone after such heinous acts sets an awful precedent, one that society cannot afford. Anyone capable in the first place of committing such a crime should have the keys thrown away. Gator was one of those skaters I idolized as a young teen. I wanted to skate like him, be him in his rockstar way of life back then. But after hearing what he did, I sit and wonder every time there is a parole hearing why he is still breathing. I am sorry, but not sorry. There is no forgiveness for what he did to that woman. What's the point of paroling this monster? No one would have predicted he'd do that the first time. Now they say there's no reason to believe he'd do it again. This is a one-shot kind of crime. Off the streets forever. As of now, there's no way to tell how everything will turn out. Gator could very well be paroled at any time, or he could ultimately spend the rest of his life behind bars.